Welcome to Stitch, where we celebrate the feel-good, do-good, and all-around good across the country. I'm Allie Ross. The world can feel like a harsh place sometimes, but beautiful acts of kindness are taking place all around us. Today, we're sharing stories of Americans showing up for others, whether it be a friend, a parent, or a total stranger. Here's Devontae McKenneth with our first story of kindness and compassion.
This group of Iowans came together for a surprise for their friend who rides his bike to work every day, rain or shine.
Here, you're gonna take this.
When Kenny Randolph agreed to meet his friends at a bike shop, he had no idea what he was in for. After testing out one of the bikes, he was shocked to learn that it was his new ride.
On behalf of some very generous people, this is actually your new bike.
What? I don't believe it.
Kenny rides his bike 8 miles to work every day. It's even how he met some of his friends.
I commute up 2nd Avenue in the morning and it's dark. I noticed often that Kenny was riding alongside the road with no helmet and lights weren't on, and it concerned me.
Aaron Van Dorn and some friends bought some gear for Kenny, but they felt like there had to be more they could do.
I've never done a GoFundMe, but I'll give it a try.
Jeremy Davis first met Kenny on a hot day several years earlier.
On the day it was about 104 degrees out, I pulled over and I said, hey man, it's too hot to be riding your bike out here. You want to ride?
The GoFundMe brought in nearly $1,200 and the store covered the rest.
They'll float on top of soft surfaces. So for someone like Kenny, where he's riding all year long, and the snow that we're gonna get here this week, he'll be able to ride through anything with that bike.
Kenny was blown away by his friend's generosity.
I ain't think nobody would do this for me. I love everybody is here.
Up next, a young barber in Kentucky offered her services to a man who had fallen on hard times. A video of the pair went viral, but their bond actually goes back years.
You cut all this off?
You want me to cut your hair? I ain't gonna shave it off, I'm gonna trim it up.
When Lex Moran spotted Joe at a bus stop, she went over to check in on him.
When I pull up, I try to feed him, I give him a little money, make sure he has clothes or whatever he needs just to maintain through that day.
But this time he said his hair was bothering him. Coincidentally, Lex had just passed her barber board exam. Her supplies were in the car, so she offered to cut Joe's hair on the spot.
He was talking about how his hair was longer and it was tickling his ears, and I'm like, oh, if you want a haircut, I'll get that.
To her surprise, a video of the pair went viral.
I'm gonna bring out some clippers. I'm gonna give my good guy a haircut.
Lex said her desire to do good stems from a terrifying experience in 2016. She was shot multiple times on her porch after an altercation.
He just shot 4 times in my direction. I caught 3 of them. You know, having a second chance at life, just sympathy and compassion, and even trying to have an understanding for others no matter the situation.
Lex wants others to follow her example and show compassion for others whenever possible.
I've gotten so much love from just helping Joe. It's almost so unbelievable that it's love out here in the world of so much negativity, so many shootings and killings. Like, I just want to try to give that little bit, if I can, that will go a long way.
Next, we'll take a look at a story of a Nebraska weightlifter who invites athletes with disabilities into his home to train.
You know, you get the people that'll stare. I've seen people cross the street to walk on the other side. I've seen people try to look away. And I understand that I look the way I look. But if that's the way you're going to look at people, you're going to miss a good person. My name is Mike Sissel. I'm from Bellevue, Nebraska. I'm an extended family home provider, and I'm a weightlifter. Extended family home is individuals come and live in my home, and I work with a variety of things that they are working toward. Could be anywhere from behavioral things to daily living skills to maybe they want to be more independent and live on their own someday. So then we're working on those skills with them. The guys I work with are really involved with Special Olympics. They like the WWE wrestling and they're very into sports, athletics. So they're into the weight training sometimes because they want to look like their wrestler or they want to be good for a certain sport. They work out with me. They want to learn things. It's nice. I mean, I don't have the influence maybe John Cena or Randy Orton do, but I think they see the weight training and what I do and think it is motivating for them somewhat to see that I'm doing it with them. Isaiah's always been involved in sports. He loves running. Anything with running, he loves. He's just a natural born athlete. He's already part of the U.S. team, was selected for the athlete to bring in the torch. So he was very popular this year. And then you got David, and David wants to just do everything. He sees the guys doing the Special Olympics, and now he's wanting to do some. They kind of feed off one another. Jeff, on the other hand, we had to prompt him a lot. He doesn't want to fail. Jeff did track this year for the first time, and he threw what they call, I think they call it the turbo throw. It's like a javelin throw. And it was amazing how far he could throw that thing. So, and he loved it. It's just amazing to see, you know, where he is today. He was bounced around from group home to group home, and I think a lot of people did write him off. He just had to have the right people work with him. You know, it again goes back to don't judge a book by its cover. You may miss something, and that's, I think, where we stepped in. You have to look at it as family. These individuals come into your home. They're living with you 24/7. They have family involvement. They do things with their family. We're not replacing their family, but we're an extension of a family now. I'm just like a piece of this, and there's several pieces that have to be in place for this to work. My wife, Integrity Support Services, the state, you know, where Jeff works, his family, and Jeff included. The better the team is, the more success you're gonna have. When I was younger, this is definitely not what I saw me doing for the rest of my life. But you get out what you put in, and I think the most rewarding part is to see these guys be successful. Whether it's work, Special Olympics, anything. It's just, that's your reward. My mom always talks to me about this. You can't just judge by the outward appearance. There's interesting, fun, funny, heartwarming stories they all have. If you're gonna judge, you're gonna miss the bigger picture.
When we come back, we'll introduce you to some remarkable young people who know a thing or two about being kind to others.
Welcome back. We're spotlighting people who spread kindness in their own communities. Having helped feed hundreds of families through her food pantry, this teenager in Maine decided it was time for her next big idea.
Push, push.
Kaden Boylard has quite the philanthropic resume. The opening of her own consignment shop was just the latest example of her desire to help others.
I wanted to give back to the community for people who didn't have as much.
Food insecurity is a significant issue in her community. 4 years before the shop opened, Kaden converted a spare room at home into a food pantry. From there, her nonprofit, Kaden's Kitchen, continued to grow and grow. And then came the idea to start a consignment shop to fund her charity work.
My favorite is just all of the options I have for clothing, considering there's pretty much every size option that they could have.
I think the biggest blessing in all of this, it's just been so natural. You know, it's just been so genuine.
Her father, Kevin, said he's proud of the work she's done, adding that he's lucky to be her dad.
It's not something that we force as parents. It's not something that we try to necessarily highlight or keep her, involved with. It's something that she enjoys doing. It's something that she loves being a part of.
And Kaden has no intention of slowing down.
I'm just hoping to bring this journey, make it bigger.
After a tornado ravaged her community, this Alabama middle schooler realized that her new hobby could help. Delaney Moyer's school was one of the buildings hit hard after a tornado outbreak. When she heard that several classrooms suffered damage, she wanted to help.
I have a neighbor that's a teacher, and she lost all her supplies. She only got a little shoebox of all her supplies. And so I wanted to help all those teachers replace their stuff.
Delaney loves to sew, so she came up with the idea to sell some of her creations to raise money.
Well, basically, I got a sewing machine from my grandma for Christmas. So I started making pillowcases for our couch and stuff, and little small pillows for the beds in our home.
Her thinking immediately changed. And we saw the big drive that Oak Mountain High School did. They filled the cafeteria in a 4-hour period. And Delaney came to us and said, I want to sell my pillows. and give the proceeds to my school. In full disclosure, I took 45 seconds and walked into our room and wiped the tears from my eyes and came back out, and her mother and I sat down with her and she had a plan worked out.
Delaney got back to work sewing after school, a few days a week, with each pillow taking about 20 minutes.
We've been starting to think of ideas to add like an OM or like Oak Mountain ironed on before we actually sew it.
She decided to sell her pillows for $10 to $15, depending on the size. In just a short time, Delaney earned $600 for the community, but that was just the beginning.
I think a realistic goal for her is $2,500. So she's just over 20% of the way there right now.
I'm not doing this for like money for myself. I'm actually doing this for the teachers who really need it and who's been like working to make up a good classroom and just lost it all in a tornado.
Having learned firsthand how toys can help kids through a painful time, a young boy started collecting thousands of them for charity.
There can be multiple items in one order.
Jameson Shannabrook of Pennsylvania is no stranger to a toy drive.
We've been 6 days into this so far, and we already have 1,000.
That's impressive enough, but he already brought in 1,300 toys at the drive he held before that. Jameson was inspired by an incident that happened when he was 2 years old. After a serious dog bite, he had to have extensive surgery. During his recovery, the toy cart was stopped at his hospital room, and he was allowed to pick whatever he wanted. Later, Jameson decided to help other kids going through a tough time.
He took that sliver of time and has turned it into an event that many people look forward to annually.
I just want to give them a nice Christmas, a nice birthday, a nice holiday, so they really can have a great time there without stressing so much, not seeing home.
Now, a few years into hosting the toy drives, he continues to raise the bar.
Even just one donation will make me happy. No matter how many items you donate, it will make me still very happy.
Next, we'll take a look at a senior living facility where weekly visits from small children bring a sense of excitement and play to the residents.
I really wish I would have had an opportunity like this when I was a kid. It's so unique. I mean, they may not realize it now, but when they get older, they'll look back and say, wow, this is pretty incredible. I first heard about Mount Nazareth from a friend of mine whose aunt was a sister here. We came for a tour and it was just basically love at first sight, and I couldn't imagine sending my kids anywhere else. And as time went on too, I started to learn more about the intergenerational program, which to be able to participate in a program like this, I think has really shaped the development of our children.
Once a week, the children come from the daycare for an hour to interact with the residents. We knew that was a good idea to bring those two generations together, especially we had retired sisters who just miss teaching. I wanted to bring them some kind of life and joy, and the kids, they were perfect for it.
With kids, they really put you in the moment. They're very focused in that moment, and I think for the seniors too, that gives them a sense of presence and excitement and something to look forward to. I think there's a saying where grandparents and grandchildren are natural allies, and I think that that's definitely the case. I mean, it almost makes you teary-eyed just to see the seniors' faces light up when they walk in.
As soon as I was retired, I came here. I never had my own children because I'm a sister, but when I look at them, I just imagine that they're my own children.
I just enjoy the kids, and I enjoy their little games that I learned when my children were growing up.
This program here has really impacted our family. And, you know, when I became a mom, I expected, you know, that we would find a center, you know, who took good care of our children. But what I didn't realize was, you know, that it would be a family.
One of the residents said to me, "Sister, I am so happy to see that one of those children will take my place in the world." Life brings so many challenges, And sometimes you could feel overwhelmed, but those children and those residents helps me to keep some kind of balance in my daily life. That's my answer.
When we come back, we'll have stories of Americans who went out of their way to give back to military veterans. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Having witnessed how hard post-military life can be for fellow veterans, one Maine resident decided to do something about it. As a service officer in the American Legion, Ed Harmon saw that securing a place to live can be a struggle for many veterans.
So I came up with the idea of taking a cargo trailer, taking it and converting it into a temporary housing.
Ed named the project Veterans Emergency Temporary Shelter, or VETS.
They're secure, they're safe until they can get housing. And that's the concept, is to take care of the vet that's being left out in the cold.
It cost more than $5,000 to retrofit the original trailer.
Original? This is the original prototype that I built with my own money.
Since then, Ed has been able to secure donations and bring on a handful of volunteers. The number of trailers grew to 5, with plans to add 4 more. They're all heated and contain a bed, a microwave, and a fridge.
So they can place that trailer in a location that somebody's willing to allow it to be plugged into, and the vet can stay in it. At least give them warmth, lighting, a secure place out of the cold.
Ed hopes that one day they'll have 100 trailers for vets in need.
I don't want to see a vet sleeping under a bridge. I don't want a vet sleeping in somebody's garage and they don't know it. I want that vet to know that somebody cares about him, and we do.
In our next story, this veteran got a heartwarming blast from the past to commemorate his 93rd birthday and his military service. Veteran Peter Ruvolo was honored by a group of young Marines in Florida for his birthday. Peter, who served in the Marines in World War II, was enjoying his 93rd birthday party at home with his loved ones. Then, with no warning, up walked the young Marines of the Palm Beaches.
I can't find a word. I'm so shocked, and my daughters have been telling me all day, don't ask any questions.
Peter was one of the founders of the group back in the 90s, so seeing the young Marines in action brought back fond memories for him.
There were 5 of us. I'm the only one left. And to see them here after all those years, it's just unthinkable.
The young Marines gave Peter gifts. He also got to share some of his wisdom that he'd picked up over the years.
Stay in school, because that's going to help you.
Peter was moved by having his time in the service honored this way and on his special day.
What a thrill, I just can't find any words.
Happy birthday to you.
More than a decade after a soldier's death, a nonprofit helped him give his family in Maine one last gift.
I never thought I would outlive Buddy.
Chelsea McLean's late husband, Buddy, was a private first class in the Army. At age 24, he was killed overseas in the line of duty when their son was just an infant. Nearly 11 years later, Chelsea was surprised to learn her mortgage would soon be paid off. She was contacted by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, which was founded in the wake of the September 11th attacks. The organization told Chelsea they planned to cover the $50,000 balance in honor of her husband.
They said that they wanted to pay it off before Memorial Day, and yeah, I was shocked.
A ceremony was held to give the Gold Star family documentation that the mortgage was no more.
It's nice to have something good come out of something so bad.
Their 11-year-old son, Owen, assisted in the ribbon cutting. The McLeans were one of 20 military families whose mortgages were covered by the foundation at that time.
I feel like this is something, a light at the end of the tunnel for me.
Buddy enlisted to give his family a more stable life. For his wife, the gift was proof that his dream had come to pass.
His end goal was met. Owen has a home that he'll have forever for the rest of his childhood into his adulthood, and he'll always have a place to come back.
In our last story, a Vietnam veteran who spent years fixing up trucks finally got a brand new one of his very own.
It just took my breath away. I couldn't even talk when I saw the truck. It's beautiful.
New Hampshire veteran Robert Cass knows a thing or two about trucks. He had driven them his entire life and even worked on them to provide for his family. Robert also spent 22 years in the Marines and served in 2 combat tours during the Vietnam War. But the father of 9 had never owned a new truck until now.
Thinking about how hard my father works, 9 kids, my mother passed away at the last one's birth.
For their dad's 80th birthday, Casey Cass and his siblings came together to get him a fully loaded Toyota Tacoma.
This is everything to me. I've waited my whole life to do this, and I hate that it took me this long. All he has to do is drive, hunt, and fish, and be happy, and shoot. That's it.
The family worked hard to make that surprise extra special. They brought in a film crew plus an actor for the big reveal.
But this truck right here, this truck is your truck.
Robert's kids paid for their dad's insurance and gas cards too.
I love you, Dad.
I love you too, and it makes me feel like I should be doing this for him.
All to show a little gratitude for the best dad, as the truck itself reads.
Happy birthday, dear Bob. Happy birthday to you. Let's give Bob a big round of applause.
Thank you for joining us for these uplifting stories of kind acts from across the country. From all of us here at Stitch, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.